However, on maps you see it named as Killyconny Bog. It covers about 1,000. Covers about 1,000 acres and 1,000 acres. Yes. And it's divided up into five sections. We're in the Cloughbally section here at the moment. Over there, beyond is Farta. Then you would have Killyconny itself, Figat and Leitrim. And in fact, Killyconny and Farta are actually in Meath. So the Cavan border is actually out there in the middle of the bog, although you can't see it from here. Now, this bog base is a living history book. It's about 10 metres in depth, and for every year basically is a millimetre. So for every metre, you would have 1,000 years of time have passed. Now, you can see here the history of bogs throughout Ireland. At the moment, we only have roughly 5% of the bogs that we originally had in the country. We covered between 30 and 40%, as you can see there. But this is nothing in comparison to Europe as a whole. I'd say in Ireland we have between 40 and 50% of all the raised bogs that are left in the whole of Europe. Now in Holland, for instance, a country who started off developing the commercial side of bog cutting for turf as uses as a fuel, they've now started spending millions of pounds trying to regain some of the flora and fauna which they've lost throughout the years. Now in the 1950s, Lord Hertford signed over the Cloughbally and the Killyconny section to 12 trustees. So that is actually taken care of. The other were divided among tenants, but there is actually a protection order being sought for this bog and a bog in Black Line in northwest Cavan to actually conserve what's here already. This hopefully should be the last year that there will be any machine cutting. People have cut by hand since we can date it back to pre-famine times, but hopefully if Sheila de Valera agrees, there's a bit of controversy in Black Line in northwest Cavan about the bog, but hopefully from next year on we'll be able to preserve what we have here. And it really is a living history book. You'll see further on, when we get further on, various examples of artefacts, even bodies, bog wood and other artefacts that have been preserved throughout the ages. Right, we'll move on to the next section. Tell them about the makeup of
Just wait for everybody. Thanks.
ferns and that. It's basically acidic. It's the nature of the bog. The bog can basically hold, you can see there that it's cleaned off, that's copper. The acid has actually cleaned off all the dirt of that, and that's part of the reason the acid, there's no oxygen beneath. That's part of the reason why things have been preserved so well, is that the acid actually prevents bacteria living down under the level of the bog, and that's how come things are preserved so well. Anything that we find, I mean, there have been examples of bog butter they've even found in wooden caskets, and it's edible. It's fairly amazing. It's thousands of years old.
Yeah, this model will actually help us to understand how a bog is formed. Bogs basically form when the climate is moist, because you need lots of rain to form a bog, and when the temperatures are cool, so that evaporation is limited and that the moist conditions prevail all of the time. Basically, it all starts at the bottom of a lake, and at the bottom of the lake you have a chalk-like substance which you call marl, which is down here, only we can see it clearly with the condensation. On top of that, as you notice if you visit Mullagh Lake, you have vegetation and plants that grow around the edge. As they die, they fall in, more die, and gradually lakes get more and more overgrown, until finally the whole lake is overgrown, and at that stage we have the stage of fen peat, which is down here, and this bog is about 10,000 years ago, so 10,000 down there. Here's our black peat, which dates back to about 7,000 years. Then about 4,500 years ago we had a stage where the climate actually dried out a lot, and because of that the bogs dried out and we had pine woodlands flourishing on bogs. And that stage lasted about 500 years. But after that then the climate got wetter again. and the woodlands actually died out, and you had to return to the bogland face. And here we have the moss peat, which continued and continued to grow as the vegetation decomposed and grew and built up. And that is why when we dig in a bog now, you often unearth pieces of wood, as we saw at the entrance here. You have bog oak and bog pine. And people often call everything they find bog oak because of its dark colour, and in actual fact, in many cases, it could actually be pine. And then at the very, very top of a living bog, we have what's called sphagnum moss. Now this is like a carpet covering the whole bog, and it's an amazing plant in that it's in a very aggressive species. It grows everywhere. Every other plant on the bog is rooted in this. This can hold, yeah, it is the bog builder. It's the life source of the bog. When you see this, you know a bog is alive. It is 95% water, just like the whole of the bog. If you squeeze it, you'll see the water content coming out of it. And into this, everything will grow. It can be many, many different colours. We can see it's often green, but we have seen it as lovely red hues as well. But once you see this, you know that the bog is alive and flourishing. Okay, that's the sphagnum, often just called moss, and that brings us right up to the present day. And if we look at our bog here, this bog here started off actually as two small basins, two small lakes, and in the middle there was a little ridge, and those lakes filled up just as I have described here, and when they got to the top, up to the level of the ridge, they continued to grow, and that's what gives us the raised bog that we have here. Okay. We'll continue on now over to the next section.
Sphagnum essentially just sucks water up from beneath. That's how come it keeps on raising up. That's what's meant by raised bog essentially. It just keeps on sucking it up and growing up, and everything beneath is killed by the acid that's left. There's actually a chemical exchange, which means that it sucks all the nutrients out and leaves only acid beneath. So essentially it kind of controls how the bog grows and how fast it grows. But it takes most of its nutrients from the rain. So that's why the top level is alive, but everything else beneath will be dead. Fortunately now it's fairly quiet today. You can see some of the many-headed bog cotton. They grow in, you see the white fluffy appendages on top. They grow in single clumps in wet areas. Now, unfortunately, that pool is very quiet today, but we've Ara here to tell us a little bit about, tell us some of the insects that are to be found in the bog pool. Do you want to give a quick run through there?
Like these small ones here running about.
Do you want to come around here and have a
They're called the redley gig beetles. Very noticeable. They just run round in circles on the top of the water. It's fun to them, you know. Right, we've a few raft spiders. You know, with the white egg sac at the back of them, very noticeable. And, over here we've a water boatman. Gets its name from the R-type wings on it. And what else have we? Oh yeah, we have pond scales. See it flying across. And most of these just stay on the top of the water and run about. I think all these insects here are carnivores. At the end of the summer, they all eat each other. Over here we've a green beetle. You see him passed around, it's very rare.
You see him, Julie?
Ants. Children looked at those ones.
They're the white.
Yeah. At the back here we have some damselflies. You see it there? The red tail at the back and very nice. See it flying there?
Oh yeah.
Very noticeable. Now, one second.
So make sure you have a look at your property.
Just
so fast. I think you're as good. Now, that stick there is about 3.5 meters long, or tall, or deep. If we pull it down. It would take about 3 of those, end on end, to get right down to the bottom of that bog. There's a probe up there. You can try it out if you want to. that has been sunk down into it, and we tried it last year, and it went down about 10 metres. Now they reckon that they estimate that a bog like this on average grows around a metre every 1,000 years. So therefore 10 metres deep represents 10,000 years. And my job is to try and mention a couple of things that you might remember from history that might have happened, not during 10,000 years, but the last 1,000 or two. So the last 1,000, say, that could be around the year 2000 coming up. And down here around the year 1000, I have a mark down there for 1014, which was the year of the Battle of Clontarf. Brian Boru won the battle and lost his life. Up a bit further, you might have heard of the coming of the Normans to Ireland in 1169.
Yeah.
And that began Richard de Clare, known as Strong Good Man yourself. Strongbow was his nickname. And so they took over large parts of Leinster, Munster, and eventually other parts of Ireland as well. Eventually they became very friendly with the Irish and became somewhat like the Irish. So much so that in 1367 there were laws passed by the Parliament, which was which came together in Kilkenny, and they passed laws called the Statutes of Kilkenny. And among those laws were the Norman families were banned, or were supposed to be banned from speaking Irish, playing hurling, listening to Irish music and things like that. But it didn't work, because we were told in later recordings that they became more Irish than the Irish. So that was 1367. But halfway up through that millennium, that 1,000 years, there's that blue line there represents the time that Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic to America. 1492 or thereabouts. So in bog terms, in bogology, in bog language, and as far as Europeans are concerned, America only started around about there. Of course, America had a long history before that, which is largely unrecorded, but not from a European point of view. Another 100 years on, 1601, Battle of Good Man, Battle of Kinsale, in which the old Irish chiefs, the old style Irish chiefs, Hugh O'Neill and Hugh O'Donnell and those were finally, or almost finally, defeated at the Battle of Kinsale by the English. A few Spaniards had come to help the Irish as well, but they didn't work out anyhow. That's 1601. Near the end of that century, you had another famous battle, 1690.
Battle of the Boyne.
Battle of the Boyne, right. And that was another decisive battle, because it decided whether King William of Orange or King James were to rule, and as it happened, King William ruled. Up another 100 years or so, it all seemed to happen just before the turn of the century, or shortly after. 1798, we're celebrating the second centenary of 1798 this year. So as far as the bog is concerned, it only happened the day before yesterday. And then in the middle of the last century, you had maybe the saddest story of all in Irish history, the Great Famine, in which 1845 to 48, 49, that round about that. And that brings you up then nearly to modern times, the year 1900, nearly halfway through that. That dot there represents 1947, when Cavan defeated Kerry in the Polo Grounds, New York. And I'm telling people a nice little story that I had a dream last night, Pat, that I should put another wee blue ball here just above that line, the year 2000. So watch out for Cavan in 2000 or 2001. Now, before you go, if we were to pull that up, there's another piece like that below it, or at least that's what I'm claiming. A piece like that below it, representing, and I'll hurry this up because there's another group coming. Down at the end of it, 2,000 years ago, only 2 metres down in the bog, birth of Jesus. Christianity and the Roman Empire nearly more or less went hand in hand up to about the year 400, when the Roman Empire more or less lost its power. The year 432, that blue line represents the coming of St. Patrick as a missionary to Ireland. And so began the Christian times in Ireland. And they were maybe the greatest, from a learning and religious point of view, the greatest time in Irish history. The island's golden age, the island of saints and scholars and all of that, from 500 to about 800. And right in the middle of that was our own St. Kilian, who was born in 640 and died around about 690 or thereabouts. And coming up to the year 800, the golden age began to come to a sudden kind of an end because the Vikings arrived in the year 795. And they fought with the Irish a bit, and they became friendly with them a bit. And anyhow, their last showdown was not the gunfight at the OK Corral, but the Battle of Clontarf in 1014, which brings us back to where we started. So that's just a very quick run through some historical facts that happened in the last 2,000 years. And we're mentioning those only to show, only to relate to the age of the bog. That it's only that depth and that depth again. And there's 8 other metres below that, representing 8 other 1,000 years. But we've no recorded history of that time. So thank you very much. That's my story. And if there's a lie in it, don't blame me.
Cross, and it would have been 8 foot at its shoulder, so that'll just give you an idea of how huge it was. It was one of the most magnificent beasts to grace the Irish countryland in prehistoric times. Now it was actually found in a bog near Dunshaughlin in Meath, and was luckily preserved by one of the man who's living locally here now. And just to give you an idea, gives you an idea of what has gone before. That would have been in the ground for 2,000 years, and there's actually very few remnants similar to this that have been found. I'd say it could be less than 50. Do you want to say, Aisling, do you want to say a little bit about the skull?
Yeah, if you look over
Yeah,
here.
just to-
And that allows things to be preserved almost perfectly if they have been left undisturbed. And over the years we've had many interesting finds, many of which can now be seen up in the National Museum if you visit it. One of the most famous is this one up here, the Derrynaflan chalice, which was found in County Tipperary. It belonged to the monks in a monastery. And it was during the times of the Viking raids, and they knew that the Vikings would make straight for the churches and the monasteries because they knew that's where they would get things that were very valuable. So what the monks often did was took their treasure and buried it in bogland that surrounded their monastery so that it would be kept safe. So that when the Vikings raided, they wouldn't get that. And then one of the bog hoards was found in Derrynaflan, and this Derrynaflan chalice is a very, very good example of something that was very well preserved. As well as that, we have footwear, musical instruments. These bronze trumpets were found up in County Armagh. We have ancient Irish jewellery like a gold torque. We have evidence of the very first wheeled transport. We have almost perfectly preserved wooden wheels, and we have wooden vessels in which they often kept butter. And we're told, as Eamon said before, that when they took it up, if it had been untouched, it actually would be fit for you to eat. But it would probably take a brave person to try it, but we've been told it would be fit for consumption. As well as that, one of the most unusual finds would probably be bog bodies. You've seen the skull that Eamon pointed out in the face there. But since 1750, there have actually been over 80 bog body finds in Ireland. And one of the most famous is the Gala Bog body, which was found in County Galway and can actually be seen up in the National Museum. That's a reconstruction drawing of it there. Oftentimes what happened was strangers actually wandered into the bogs at night time when roadways and road networks weren't as good as they are now, and they actually just got lost or fell into pools, and that's how they perished. But at other times it was more sinister. You would have sort of ritual killings, ritual burials, like this one here. This man appears to have been staked into the ground so that he couldn't get out. You see the wooden stakes on either side of him. Now when he was discovered, it was 1821. But he wasn't donated to the museum, his remains, until 8 years later. And in that intervening time, curious people would go to the site and they would say, oh, dig it up till we see it. And so it was actually dug up and reburied several times in those 8 years. And by the time the museum got it, it had decomposed a lot from its original state. And as well as that, they didn't have the modern methods that they have now of sort of freeze-drying and ways of preserving things that they find. But if you visit the museum, you will see that. And as well as that, because bogs started where you had lakes, oftentimes when people are digging in bogs, you get evidence of campsites, villages, and boats that they would have used at the time. Down in Offaly there was a good find in the Clonfinlock Bronze Age village where they found the actual huts and great evidence of how people had lived at the time. And there's an example of the type of simple log boat or a simple dugout canoe made from one piece of wood that would have been found that tells us a lot. So as you can see, all this supports the idea that bogs are living history books that tell us so much. If we go around the corner now, we'll actually see.
You go down on the wood.
Phil, how are you? Could you tell us a wee bit about how you're marking this today, this competition? Give these people an idea.
Well, that's a competitor there in a turf cutting competition that we're running. And he's the third competitor we had today. Each competitor is asked to nick 3 row across the bench. That's the bench in front of him. And he has to nick 3 row across that and cut them and throw them up to the wheeler. And he's judged on the straightness of the rows. He's judged on the uniformity of the sods, and all the one size and all the one thickness. He's judged on the face of the bank after he finishes, and he's judged on the floor after he finishes. And the maximum on all them sections is 10 points. So that's it there. Michael, are you left or right? Huh? Are you for the first leader?
You can't. Nobody's allowed over there.
Is there any right-handed competitors here we could take some photos on here? Because one in conjunction with these. Is there any right-handed competitors?
Fall in there.
It doesn't matter Patsy, if you're not down to the floor. You go your own way.
Yeah, we take a picture of that bug. So there. Picture up there, right?
Well, look, turn around, Tom. And take a picture of the dog. Do a big smile. Oh, look at Tom. Look at Tom. Smile, go. Mommy. Mommy. Where's your mommy? Look at big smile. Oh.
Go there.
Tom, look at Tom. Look at Tom. Now you got the picture.
Okay.
I know. Are you ready to go? Come on, let's move. Whatever you do.
You want me to carry your own?
Luchin.
Lichen. Now these, you can find these in around wet hummocks, and they basically use enzymes to break down the rain that falls down on top of them. The first kind here is the antler horn lichen. If you have a look at that, you'll see basically that it looks like the antler of a deer. on the top. Then we have the matchstick lichen, which that's readily recognisable from the red tops. That's a good one to actually to find the rest of them. It's a good marker. We have the cup lichen here, which is like a little chalice. There it is, and there's some more of the matchstick lichen.
And the bearded over here.
Sorry?
The bearded.
Oh yeah. And this is the bearded lichen here. It's the beard of an old man.
Yeah, you often see that in the dried flower displays.
Yes.
You see it as feathers and that.
In fact, some of the, not only the sphagnum moss, but some lichens are actually used for medical purposes as well. Now, sedges will be the next one. This is the deer sedge. You can spot this. It's usually found in clumps. You can
See it
actually
radiating out like that.
almost
See
looks like
everywhere you
thin
go,
reeds.
it's going like
And they'll
that.
be found on top of hummocks. As will some of the, I think it's cross-leafed heath, can be found on the hummocks as well. That's the ling heather, the main component. Do we have ling heather?
Yes, we've ling heathers down there. There it is. It's actually more in bloom down on the
It
lower
is
bank
actually,
than it
yeah,
is here. The
yeah.
lovely purpley colour is more in evidence down here, but there is a lot of it here. It's just gone out of
Yeah.
bloom. Yes. And that's what Eamon
We have the
mentioned.
cross-leafed.
Heath. That is lovely. Pink bells as flowers, and when they're going out of bloom, you see they turn that sort of orange colour. And if you examine the stem, it's called the crossleaf heath because it's got 4 leaves in the shape of a cross, one opposite one, the other opposite the other. So you have the crossleaf heath there. And
This is the sphagnum moss. We'll give you a better example of that when we get up. You can pick up some examples and check it for moisture.
this is a very unusual plant. This is the only one here that actually eats insects. It's a spoon-shaped leaf, and it has little tentacles on the edge which are sticky, and they trap the insects, and they gradually close over. And when they've closed over the insect, they digest as much of the insect as they can, and then when they open up, all you can see are tiny little black spots, which would be the only parts of the insect that they weren't able to break down. So the other plants here would be getting most of their nutrients actually from rainfall and any dust that would literally land on them, whereas this gets its nutrients from insects that it traps.
Basically uses enzymes in your stomach to break down the little insects that get entrapped. It's like it's the Venus flytrap of the bog, I suppose we call it.
And the bog rosemary then is really the last one we've mentioned them all. You see it's like here, we have it here marked on the bog with little yellow signs. As you're going across on your walk back to the tent, you'll see it. The undersides of its leaves are a sort of a little silvery colour, and you'll see some nice examples of it over there.
Just mentioned this just before we go on. This is the bog asphodel. It's just going out of bloom at the moment, but you'll see these kind of spiky yellow leaves with 5 flowered, 5 stems of flower, and that's also known as brittle bone because it actually absorbs calcium from whatever source it can get from the ground. That's part of the chemical exchange I was talking about earlier on. It absorbs the calcium from the ground, which means it's only acid left. Now, the reason it's known as brittle bone is that cattle used to eat it. The bog asphodel will actually absorb the calcium in their bones, and they'd suffer from brittle bones, and their legs would break easily. So that's the common name for that. And that's where it came from. Now, yeah.
Just as we walk
There's
along
examples.
Here, we have signposted some good examples of all the things that Eamon has just pointed out.
I might write something about Oh my god, it's an awful lot of water. Yeah.
It can hold up to 8 times its own weight in water. Have a squeeze of that. It's just a big sponge. Actually, if you can want to jump up and down, it's you can feel it going up and down beneath you. Very good. These are marked off in meters between the brass markers there, and for every meter that I pull out, for every stick, it's 1,000 years that have gone by. So we're basically, it's actually supposed to be a bit messy, but anyway. 2,000. Where is she? 3,000. Get this out, it's easy to fit it back in again, it's problem. 4,000. 5,000. 6,000. That's the air escaping there. 7,000. 8,000. Now that goes down to another. It varies between 7 and 10 metres in different parts of the bog, the depth. But that'll just give you an idea. For every one of those, 1,000 years have passed. You're welcome to give me a hand here, Ashley. What can I do without you? It's more an encouragement that always helps. Father would say, well, love to watch work, watch it all day, and see the ants doing it.
See all the cups there. That's it, because the plants are sitting there. So it's quite a good seeing the around there. And over here then, it's all the long time to find. You often see it near a pond. There, now that's close. I think it takes up
Right there is the bog.
Where's the next Alicia, do you need to go to the toilet again? Daddy, where's the toilet?
Over this way.
I don't like playing with it.
Don't leave it. Get washed.
Here's a dog. We know, check him around once. That's it, good dog. Good dog.
Can you tell me a little bit about that instrument there? Can you tell me a little bit about that instrument?
That's a wing slane.
A wing slane? And where would you use that? On the high bank?
On the high bank, yeah.
Yeah?
You dug down, cut the sod down, threw it out.
Yeah?
Wing slane. You put down 7 or 8 sods with that.
How many would a sod deep? Would that be, what, 4 or 5 foot, is that?
No, it would be 4 or 5 foot. Yeah.
Yeah?
I think 4 or 5 sods, 4 or 5 foot. On the high bank.
How deep down in the bog hole would you go with it?
Actually, you'd go down maybe 20 sods.
Yeah?
You know what that. Maybe 20 sods. If by 24 sods you were cutting with a brush lane by 24.
Yeah?
You dig about 12 down it. You know.
Yeah?
They all went up from the hay bank.
Yeah?
The wings. When you went down in a certain distance, you used other slings, brush lane.
Oh, see, yeah?
That brush lane. You cut them out, took them out of the lobe. They were down with the lobe. Until you came to the mud where the drop a go to braid.
Yeah?
And a go to braid, you throw it out on the shelf.
Yeah?
Make mud.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Is that what they call running turf, is it? Or running
That's
mud?
right, running mud, yeah.
Yeah?
Throw it out when you break it up on the way and run it. It'll be left on the spread for a week at a part and let it harden up. And you nick it and lift it out in sods.
Oh, yeah.
You know. That was nearly all the food until it was dry and pot it with. Put up to dry.
Yeah. And would it take long now to put your house requirements by starting?
Huh?
How long would it take you to put enough turf to do your house for the winter?
I'm sure it wouldn't be. It'd be a week or maybe a part of cutting turf. Well, it'd be over a week cutting anyway. And then it'll be a part or 3 weeks before you get it dry. It'll dry, depending on the weather.
Yeah.
If you've got cool weather, you wouldn't be long getting it dry. I suppose a couple of months out.
Yeah.
You know, the bog maybe for 2 months to 3 months. Before you draw it out.
Yeah.
You know. Brought home and put into a shed and that was it. Yeah.
You are a busy man.
Huh?
You'd be a busy man.
Busy, you would.
Well, so everything was done by hand that time.
No, don't be hand. Oh,
And the arts and card.
that's right, that's right.
Okay, thanks very much now.
Right, yeah.
a photograph of me?
Yeah, wave. Wave to the camera. Say hello, Jim.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, Deirdre.
Cheese.
Say cheese for Jim.
Cheese.
Did you? And did he get you?
Did I?
Did he get you, did he? Mia.
Hello, Deirdre.
I'm having great fun at the bogs in Mullagh.
We burnt the bottom of the iron pot, you see, and that took off the big rough burnt porridge. And then this one here, then he was the little one, and he polished it off. He made all the rough stuff off. Everything had its own use, you see. Yeah, everything had its own use. So, brilliant. But that's all there was in Ireland. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else.
Or the most important city.
You went
But the bottom of the porridge pan is vile. And the modern hot stove doesn't work.
Oh no.
It's very poor.
Yeah,
And it all
well,
comes
of
off
course
the
there were
hot
iron pots, you see, there was
Yes.
that like that, so that there were, you couldn't use the pot
Yes.
possibly going out, but that it took off the whole lot. Because it burnt the bottom of the thing, and that took it all off, and then the other little ones, then they polished the
And what
bottom.
would you have tied them with then? Because you wouldn't
Well,
have had that
no,
crossfader
no,
twine.
there was an old Sally, there kind of like Sally or that, the
Yes.
girl in the country, and you peeled the Sally and that. Yeah. There was also another thing back down home, you think that's the sun, it was Australian flax.
Yeah.
Now it was a broadleaf thing, it's a lovely thing growing in gardens, and it had a great wide leaf that size, and you could pull it down into thin strips, and it was like string, and you could pull it over a wall, it was
Yes,
very
yes,
tough, you know,
yes.
and that's what you could use for tying as well. Also there was no string that, or no
Yeah,
binder
yeah.
thing, you know. So everything had its own use, and that's all we knew.
So it's not that long ago.
It's not, because that's all there was when I was young.
Because I remember being in Africa, in Kenya.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 50 years ago now. But like
Yeah.
everything was made up in things, and everything was recycled.
Oh yes,
You
yeah,
know, if
yeah.
you bought the sweets in the market, they gave it to you in a woven cone. Pretty woven cone, which you threw away.
Yeah, yeah.
But you never saw any litter because they didn't have paper, they didn't have that plastic bag, and anything like that.
The greatest, of course, that wasn't bad, was plastic bags. Absolutely nothing. No, in France or Germany, those England, those places, they'd have some kind of big long necky things, like leaves, I think, possibly. But that's what they use for sweeping of all the leaves in the harvest time when the leaves get formed out of all the trees. That's what they still use. That's what they still use for sweeping. So everybody had everything in its own use, you know.
But that would be much better on an earth floor than a brush. Because a brush dig up the floor and it'd be too
Oh yeah,
strong.
or
where that
even
would-
cement. Even
Yes,
cement
yes.
is great, you know. It's funny if I had a couple of them last year in the shed at home. And the garage, the men is in now, walking in to see the fast men, you know. And we just still use sweet up the whole bit. And the sweet.
Oh yeah.
But the whole green has gone off to be seen, you haven't got the fine heather. And the great still for sweeping. Great for sweeping. So everything has its own.
Nice that for cleaning out porridge.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't eat porridge. I had forced it to me when I was a child, and I'm one of those people that can't have
Well,
it.
this
But I
really
remember
makes-
they were saucepan.
This would have been a kind of porridge, the big in the big pot. But the big pots of there were iron pots or stir about. They were meant for the feed the sows and the pigs, and they were
Yes,
thick
the
and
rough,
then you put up cabbage and kale and that type of thing, or whatever, and you dumped down it all up, you see.
Because
And
it was
that's
thick, it burnt more
it
easily.
burned more
Yeah,
easily.
yeah,
It could be like the porridge that you've been talking about, you see. But that's why that these things then that took this whole rough thing off, and then the other little kind of drum then you know. So everything had its own.
Did you sell many today?
I can sold a few. Some of them, these are sold too, but I don't know whether they'll go back to them or not. Some of them went on either about it. Or you wouldn't sell that many, so it's just a matter of having, you know. It's only just a matter. That was one of it up there, but the dad was telling how it was made, you know, how you put it together, you know. So a lot of people wouldn't have even have heard of them. Wouldn't rain, no have to fall, you know, or anything. Everything has its own.
One of the sticks had been focused all right.
Oh, yeah.
So now, well, it's nice talking to you.
Nice to see you. Right.
Not too bad.
Okay.
For a heavy set man, actually, it is a very good song.
Okay. Right, we move from here. Up with them, Sheridan, up with them.
Over here just to examine some of the plants that we find.
Any roads cut there? No. One. Is it one? One or two. Two of them. One. I don't walk on the same. One more.
Any other competitors, any other ones down here?
You want to put? You do there.
There's a vacancy down here now for anyone.
Is it over out in the bothering you?
But I don't know. So there's any other one here or not. You said it? You want to put that? Are you going to nick it over there?
Nick it over there and we'll catch it over.
Huh? I was on your cold row you with the wee shade now. With the shade now.
You did?
You were going to put it down. And you're up there short and enough before you put them at all.
Yeah, we'll see them make the hand to make it. You're going to be going on. You know? Yeah. David, come on, very quick.
If you want to practice now, he'll come back. I'll come back up.
Just think over the top and cut it. Oh, you're not around me, too. Two more, do you?
Oh, nothing by slam.
You do hold it there. Nick them over two there.
You see, you know, yeah, and it's a company. It should be preserved first. Yeah. For a bit, for all a bit like this.
Not too bad now.
She's beginning to look nice now.
She is. What's a great day for it? My... What man? Oh, that's a grand one. That all right? Oh, that's a grand. Let me get out there. Hi. Yeah, Mike. Yeah. I'll show you the next part of it. You shouldn't have your wheel up against the last. You shouldn't have your wheel up against the last. You're going the wrong way. Oh, that's what's wrong. Use yourself back here. Ah, well then. And have the... Right. When I Come on, Mark. Now, Peter, what's the cameraman?
You set the field man now.
Oh, now, all right.
Now is that Marty? What about me now?
No bother to him, Patsy.
That's PJ King, he's from Mahar, he is.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. You're choking them, you're choking them.
Smash the water of them.
You're choking them, catching them there. We can't be dead. That's the way. 2 ends, that's the way. That's the way. Now you have it.
It's just like a tune.
Not bad, huh? They'll come to you. You don't have to go out for them. Do you want to cut you? Cut you then, man. Take that road. Now, go on ahead now, Peter. Go on ahead, Red. Enough with them. We'll just charge. Well, I with them. That man and I'll feed up that fire. Right. Good man, Brian. You pull your bar in that. You caught a few, Brian.
The two shots.
Seamus, caught a few of them. I catch a few of you. Huh?
I'm the crook.
No, it's the next road.
Just cut water.
No, cut it. Cut the water away. Cut it down.
Never seen again, mate. Hey, mate. What you wait?
Come over here, somebody's doing a bag.
Huh?
That's really a molar.
Oh, no.
That's Pat the Butcher.
You know,
Oh, God, I thought it's only chopped people.
huh? I cut them square on straight too.
Oh. For one side of the bone, would you?
See if that man was laying just beyond there.
Is that your slate?
Who? Which one, Pat?
It's the sharp one.
Yeah.
Aye, that's right.
Right one.
That's what you have, Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, that's a grand one you have. Who? That's a grand side you have.
It's the short slate.
Straighten them up.
I usually go for any competition.
That'd be how day on the bog on the same.
Oh, sure.
Huh?
Oh, fuck it.
Ah, yeah, that's down.
Much as John myself one year on South 7 Tough Town. That's one for you. 2 times. We had a problem with the with the round house. We had a level. South 7 Tough Town. Much as down the house. Yeah. Wasn't a bob in the front the other time. We used to do a great old chipping session about you. Used to walk the days out, you talk more fucking.
Jim was a poor deputy.
I do regret it now. I always regret it every time I go around looking Willie said to me. I see me sweating one day that never pass any after lunch. Never pass any of that and some day man on you. John and one feet the bog if you put it out light. But never put up. Maybe about 9 or 10,000 more than along with that on top of that. Sell the mud top.
Lovely, that's
Sell the mud top and keep the slate staying. That went on for years and years and years.
That's wall meeting now, isn't it?
Years of my life there. To be a lad all the past and be met with something. You wouldn't have a sample. No such a thing as cold.
Huh?
Especially when it's them around a while.
The what? Today and then I seen the weeks from the courthouse in Cavan. The weeks of making them. That was the council's job. The man before you better work on that. The man he could load him up. He was like we'd be able to do all that. We never discussed it, but that was the way it was at a certain time. And I think the old men had to do a bit.
Well, they had to cut the
what they had to do behind the bog. It wasn't the bullies or anything, but they used to curse the barras. The barras was, there wasn't an air from Gudgeon in them. You know what I mean? The barra was, the two shafts was bored. There's an air from Gudgeon in that one. The two shafts was bored, right? No go.
Oh, stay away, Jimmy. Stay away, Jimmy.
You might go, he'd be after you with the plane.
I didn't see a man dumping a right barra top today, here out from there.
Yeah, they're not, no.
Do you like doing that?
Do you like doing that? Oh, I also say, throw the fucking head of the barra, then you could get them out. There's something you used to put 26 off too.
Take a slide off.
This way.
No, you lift your hand, give him a quick if you slide off.
Look.
They're not sliding off.
Oh, just let them fly it.
Aye, slide off.
Many hands just
Can't even now.
Many hands just with the way. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a course on it before.
Why, yeah.
Ian, I'd like to present this trophy, winner of the turf cutting competition, the first ever held in the parish, 1998. And we hope in 10 years' time you'll be still holding on to this trophy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hey, right.
Thanks very much.
Jim, the man behind the dip.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!
Rod, your boy, you're coming in the final line. Come on, lift it for him. Lift it.
Right, you can wait.
Oh, I didn't go near you at all. I can't look into the sun.
Yeah, thank you. Just trying to get Kieran. Kieran.
There's my two neighbours.
Kieran. Kieran. Good Kim.
Give Colin the whale. Will you give Colin the whale? Can I get up for a minute? Come on, Jim, get a photo of Colin in here. Jim.
Drive on.
Let's melt the way. What? Sim. Raycon's gonna. Sim, every photo of the up there. Now, bitch.